Hi everybody. Welcome to Wednesday's live stream, All Things Love. How's everybody doing today? So once again, we've got quite a few new people, so I'll just do a quick little introduction, say hi to all of you that are always here. Yay, and I appreciate that. I'm Barb Beck. I'm a relationship coach who's been doing this work for over 21 years, and my company is Revolutionary Love. If you want to go to that website and just check out what I do, how I work with people, that kind of thing, it's revolutionarylove.com, and you can check that out there. You're on my personal Facebook page here. There's also a business one that you can like, Barb Beck Revolutionary Love, so that would be wonderful. And I'm just going to take a minute to say hi to some people, and we're going to jump right in today to why it is actually a problem to be swept off your feet. So let me just say hi to everybody. Hi, Jan, I'm glad you're here. Hi, Christine, how are you? How's everybody doing? What's going on? Anybody have any questions today you want to throw in here right now? I think that this is such a good topic. I've talked a lot about dating, and I did just do that recent talk and on our local TV show too. Hi, Jim. About dating is not a relationship. But this question about, can you please talk to us more about this being swept off your feet thing? This came from a past client of mine who I worked with for a while. We did some great work together. She's just done really amazing amounts of healing and good work, and yet she kind of slipped back into this thing and wrote me this beautiful email and just said, you know, I'm still kind of confused about some of these pieces. You know, would you be willing to talk about this? And then, of course, because we all need so much of the same thing, as soon as I posted this, a couple of people got a hold of me and just said, oh my God, I so need you to talk about this being swept off our feet thing. Like, is it a good thing to feel that? How do I navigate that? Why does it keep tanking me and have me not be able to hold to my requirements and that kind of thing? So that's why I've got this here today on a live stream. And I do just want to thank you. It's always important for me to talk about things that are important to you. I can sit here and come up with all kinds of things to talk about. It's way more important to me to talk about things and address things that you guys have questions about or are struggling with or would like some clarification around. So, hi Wendy, how are you? Hi Michelle. Whoa, what the heck was that? Okay, that was really a weird sound here in the house. Okay, well that was fun. We will move on. Wow, hi Pat. I've got my I can't even tell you what that sound was like right over here. Maybe someone else is listening in to this today. Okay, so I think we'll just jump right in. And what I said today that we would talk about were these 4 things. And what I'm going to do different, hi Steph, what I'm going to do different today, usually I kind of go through my list of what I said I would make sure that I covered today. And I think I'm going to go through this, but I think I'm not going to go through it in this order. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is what's wrong with this romantic notion, because that's what it is. It's a romantic notion that we have, something we hear about all the time in our world and in our society. This, oh my God, we're just looking for the person that's going to sweep us off our feet. We're looking for our prince. We're looking for our princess. We're looking for that kind of chemistry where, you know, we just knew in that instant that this was the one and we were swept away. That is a romantic notion. It does sound fun and sexy, doesn't it? It sounds cool, but all of you that are getting a hold of me, that are doing this, that are falling into this deep slide down the path of being swept off your feet, are coming to me telling me that the result of that is a lot of pain. And you're asking me, how do I stay out of that now? So I think it's so important to address, first off, this first one, that it is a romantic notion. it shouldn't really be, as my son would say, that's not a thing, Mom. It shouldn't be a thing. It is a romantic notion that we hear and that we read in cards and that our girlfriends and us talk about. And I want you to realize that that is all it is. It does not serve you. I'll also talk today about if you're not standing on firm ground, think about that visual. Think about what I posted, that graphic that I posted. The woman whose feet are completely off the ground. She's in this guy's arms, and this works both ways, you guys. Men do it too, get swept off their feet. The visual that I want you to remember is her feet are off the ground. If you are not going to stay grounded through a dating process, through a process of getting to know someone, or even in a long-term relationship or marriage, if you're not going to stay grounded, firmly planted on the ground, in the dating situation, pretty much that means your head, right during that period, your head is in the clouds. Which means what? You're not going to be thinking clearly, and you're certainly not going to be using your wise discernment. And if you're sorting and screening with requirements, how well are you going to be able to do that, right? The other thing I'm going to make sure when I'm talking to you today that we address is the huge downside for that going into a dating situation, wishing for that romantic notion we just talked about, wishing for it, actually, longing to be swept off your feet, looking for somebody who actually is acting in ways that it feels like they're sweeping you off your feet. Going in that way, I actually do have people that say to me a lot when I'm working with them to get prepared to date consciously. That's the name of the workshop that I do, Conscious Dating. That will say to me, God, Barb, I just want to be swept off my feet. And that always sends a chill down my spine. And we stop right there and we talk about what that really means. Because in the end, that's deadly. That's really deadly. And the other thing I'm going to talk about, which I think I'm going to put to the very top of the list here right now, because this woman who got a hold of me asked me some really pointed questions about should I have done some research and that kind of thing. What are some important, very unsexy ways that we need to do due diligence when we're starting to date somebody? Do I believe we should do some so-called research, do some due diligence on somebody that we haven't had a date with, or have just had one date with? What are my feelings about that? And I've never really talked too much about that. And it's changed over the years. So, hi, Bren. And I saw somebody else who was here, said great advice. Christine, yeah. Okay. All right. So, Bren, glad you're here. And so I'm going to start with that one. I'm going to put that to the top of the list. What are some important unsexy, and I say unsexy because of these romantic notions that we have about we want to be swept off our feet and all this stuff. It is very unsexy to have somebody ask you out on a date or meet somebody and give them your phone number and then think about doing some research on them. What's sexy about that? Not much, right? Give me some thumbs up if that feels true for you. I mean, that doesn't feel real sexy or romantic, does it? To go, okay, this guy just asked me out. This woman just said she'd like to go out with me. I'm going to Google him or her. It's like, okay, but any of you here know that I am the mindset queen. That's what I talk about every single live stream, right? There's some point with whatever I'm teaching you that I'm adding in what the mindset needs to be. So in the first few minutes that we've talked here today, I've talked about this, what's wrong with having this romantic notion of wanting to be swept off our feet. What's that huge downside of going in to starting to date somebody, wishing, longing, looking to be swept off our feet? All of that is not very romantic or sexy. And that's the mindset shift that I want you to have. I want you to say, dating, which you just heard me talk about, dating is not a relationship. What is it, everybody? Yay, you should all be able to repeat it now. Dating is not a relationship. Dating is the time we spend, the period of time we spend discerning whether we even can have a relationship, a healthy relationship, or want a relationship with this person. That's the dating period. So that in itself doesn't sound real sexy. I want you to change your thinking around dating and around your desire to meet someone, to meet a partner. Hi, Alex, I'm glad you're here. I want you to change your thinking. The very first thing you do when you are ready to date, whether you've taken my conscious dating workshop or whether you're learning it all here on the live streams, the first thing you do is start to have healthy mindsets, not the silly ones that we've been taught through society or our communities or our cultures or whatever. All the romantic notions, all the silliness. I want you first to have a healthy mindset. Dating is not a relationship. Dating is the period of time that I spend with someone, sorting and screening and using my wise discernment to see if I even want to have a relationship with this person or if it's even possible. That's what we're doing during the dating period. And you go in with the mindset that this is what I'm doing. And it's going to require me to probably have quite a few dates and sort and screen fairly quickly. You can tell quickly when you go have coffee with somebody. Most people tell me, and I know for myself it was true, that you can tell within 10 or 15 minutes if you have some kind of connection, chemistry, if there's some interest, and at that point, you start using your requirements to further the conversation, not things like, what's your favorite food? Things like, do you have kids in your life? How long have you been divorced? What's going on in your life? You talk about things of importance, okay? All right, so let's go to the one that was on the bottom of this. What is important to do some research around before maybe you even have a date, and do I think it is important? I do. In this day and age, with everything being so different and so much online dating where you're actually meeting up with somebody that nobody's set up a blind date with you, you've never met this person in your life, nobody else knows them, I think it's really important to do a little bit of research on somebody. Okay, you have to decide what crosses the line between doing a little research and stalking somebody. We're not talking about that. But I asked Brian this morning, I go, didn't you Google me when you met me and then you asked me out? Didn't you quickly Google me? I mean, I think this is just a natural thing that we do. Some of it's just purely out of interest to kind of see what's going on in this person's life, maybe see some more photos of them, maybe get a little bit of information, look at LinkedIn. So I think it's a great idea. I think we naturally do it. But I think it's a really good idea to, obviously, if you're talking online dating and you don't know somebody, talk to them first on the phone. If you're the woman, you call them. Don't give the gentleman your phone number. You call them. That's a little bit of a safety tip there. And talk. And just talk about things, some things. See if you can do some additional sorting and screening on the phone before you even meet in person. Obviously, you make sure that you tell someone that you're going on a date and where you're going, okay? So that somebody knows that. I'm not trying to scare you. I want you to be a smart, conscious dater. And then Google somebody. The person who sent me this question and said, could you talk about this being, how can I stop kind of being swept off my feet, also had some questions at the end about, should I have done some research? Because once I started to notice some red flags, and I did do a quick Google, I found out that this person was living with another woman and all kinds of things that she could have found out easily. Does that mean that somebody can't lie to you or pull the wool over your eyes? Of course not. It doesn't mean that. That can't be assured. But there's so much that we can just easily do to have dates and things go smoother. So in my mind, you have to decide for yourself. I think that you just easily Google somebody and you just check some things. You check their LinkedIn. You see where it says they work. Does it say that they work where they actually said they work? Like, do things kind of match up? Do the timelines match up? Does it say at the bottom that they're married? Look and just check out those things. Check their Facebook page. That's a great way to actually go through the timeline and just sort of look at some posts and see if there's anything that that reflects who they are, their values, that kind of thing, that might be way off base for you, might be upsetting to you. Political views. Maybe you see tons of pictures that are recent, like that this person posted this week. Very intimate pictures of this person with somebody else that they're clearly dating, or it looks like they're in a relationship. You can't go by everything on a page. There are a lot of people on Facebook that never go back into the About section and change from where it says married or single or in a relationship or that kind of thing. A lot of people truly, especially if you're not in your 20s, that are a little older like my age, forget to go in and change those things or whatever. So don't go just by that, but you can look at the About page. You can look at postings and get a feel for what somebody is saying is important to them. You can Google all kinds of things. I know of someone, we'll keep it quiet who it is, who did not do the simplest Google on a man who would, without doing a background check, when you Google him, comes up and shows that he's a registered sex offender. Oh my gosh, you guys. And then people will ask me, do you think that you should always do a background check on somebody? I don't know. It's not anything that I have ever done. I think it certainly is not a problem. Like, why not if you want to? I know a lot of people that when they're starting to date online, they just absolutely do that with everyone. They have an account, they just run a background check. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And they Google the person and they just do some quick research. Again, watch crossing the line. I don't want anybody to get obsessed and start stalking somebody and watching everything that they're doing, trying to find out information. I want you to actually talk to them on the phone and then go ahead, do some quick research, see what you find, see if your hit feels okay. And if you've had a phone conversation and you want to set up a date, set up a casual date. I've said 1,000,000 times, don't set up some big intimate dinner that could go on for hours for the first time you've met somebody, and you walk in and within 10 minutes you think, oh my God, this is so not the person for me. I have no connection, and we've just had a glass of wine set down in front of us. We have the whole night, dinner coming, everything else. Don't do that. Set up something really simple where you meet for coffee for 45 minutes and you can easily either say, hey, this was really fun. I'd love to see you again, and you can plan something else. Or you can say, hey, it was really nice of you to take the time to meet me. I don't feel the connection here, but I wish you well and I hope everything goes great with you as you continue to date. Bye. Okay? We're trying to make this stuff easier on ourselves. All right? Okay. So, I want to get to this piece about this swept off your feet piece. And I want to first say a couple of things and then link them to the being swept off your feet piece, because the people that are asking me are past clients that have done great work around putting their requirements list together, knowing what their deal breakers are, hearing me talk over and over about dating not being a relationship. That means go slow. Don't be exclusive right away after date 2. Don't just suddenly become exclusive. all of those things. What's happening, I think, and I'm going to actually give you an example of what Mr. Hathaway and I did. I asked him this morning, can I tell this personal story so that I can give you an example of the thinking that I want you to have when you feel like, oh my God, I'm starting to be swept off my feet. Okay? So I think what's happening here for all of you that have these skills and tools that I've taught you and then are still telling me, yikes, I was swept off my feet. I think what's happening is you're taking my teachings and you're compartmentalizing them. Do you know what that means? It means you're taking them and you're not putting them all together and having them influence each other. So you're saying, okay, Barb said I really, really need to know who I am and what I want and what my deal breakers are. So I've got my list and I know what they are. And then you're leaving that sort of sitting in this box over here. Then you're coming over here and you're saying, okay, Barb's been teaching me that dating is not a relationship. Then I need to move slow, and if I'm attracted to somebody and excited about seeing them, that a couple dates in, I don't go, oh my God, I'm in a relationship with somebody. I keep saying, no, I need to sort and screen and keep moving slow and not be exclusive. And then in the next box over here, you've heard me talk very lightly, not too often, but some about, how soon is too soon to add sex in. And you've heard me say over and over, this is not for me, this is not a moral thing. This is just a warning to you. When you add in sex, when you add in a physical connection, you are adding in an immediate additional emotional connection. If you're adding in an emotional connection, what happens? You feel more bonded to the person. It feels more like a what? A relationship. Okay, so let's see. If you take all three of these things that I've said and you don't keep them in separate boxes and you bring them all together and you keep them together, I think this is going to help you then not get swept off your feet, by saying, oh my God, this feels so amazing, this feels so high. Because remember, Oxycontin is actually coursing through your body when you feel that chemistry, that attraction, that spark, whatever we're calling it, that infatuation, that lust, all of that newness. There's actually a drug. We all know how powerful that drug is, and it's coursing through your body. So I want you to remember when we go in to dating someone, if there is that chemistry and connection, it is so imperative that you keep your mindset being, I need to balance my heart and my head. I've got to balance it. I've got to use these three things that Barb keeps teaching me and keep them together, informing each other, and at the forefront of what I'm doing. Because if you don't, can you see how easy it is to be experiencing the high, feeling the effects of that drug, feeling the chemistry and connection, let go of these three things that I keep talking about, and just let yourself go whoosh down that slide. Because it feels like that, doesn't it? That swept off your feet feels so, so good. It's so intense. It feels so amazing, especially if you haven't felt it in a long time. If you've been on these dates where you're like, OMG, this is dry and boring. I have no connection with this person. Am I ever going to feel that spark, that chemistry? It feels so good. So you've got to keep the right mindset where you're not going into that romantic notion of, I'm looking for the person who's going to sweep me off my feet. No. Yeah, thumbs up. We're not looking for that. We're keeping a very strong mindset, understanding I balance my heart and my head. I want to see what somebody is saying here. Gosh, the wisdom is spot on. Yeah, thank you, Bryn. And I'm going to give you an example of that with Brian and I. You keep balancing your heart and head. You keep at the forefront these teachings that I've taught you over and over and over and over. And you say to yourself, if I start to feel this high, if I'm feeling a spark in chemistry with somebody, if I'm feeling that like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling swept off my feet, I encourage people to have a mantra. Hear me. Get your journals out. Everybody get your journals out. Grab a piece of paper next to you. Write this down. If you have all these other teachings and you're still being swept off your feet, I encourage you to have a mantra that when you feel that, when you're sitting there and you go, oh my God, I want you to have a mantra that helps ground you. Remember the visual I said? If you're being swept off your feet are off the ground. Not a good sign. Not a good thing. You've got to be grounded. So if you're feeling that, I want you to be able to say to yourself right in that moment, something that keeps you open to the moment and the fun. I don't want you to not have fun. I want you to have fun on a date, you guys. I want you to feel the fun and the spark. I want you to. It feels wonderful. I don't want you to act stupid because I love you and I don't want you to be unnecessarily hurt. So in that moment when you feel that, and you can feel that you're going to slide, oh my God, here I go. I want you to notice it and say something to yourself like, hey, I'm noticing that I could just be swept off my feet right now. Let go of the reins and just let whatever happens happen. We could end up in bed tonight. I could start making out with this person right now. I could start letting myself think, oh my God, this might be the one. This might be the person I'm going to marry in a few months. Oh my God. And I want you to say, okay, to yourself, I'm noticing this. I'm noticing that I'm moving into that. I'm starting to be swept off my feet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ground right now. I'm going to picture my feet standing firmly on the ground. I'm going to take a deep breath. Even while this person's across from me still, I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to picture myself grounding. And I'm going to say, this is fun. This is exciting. But I'm going to keep my feet firmly planted on the ground. Because if there's a potential for real, mature love here, it's going to require me to stay grounded and keep using my wise discernment, date after date after date. And if you that sounded like a long thing that I said, you'll be able to say it to yourself just like that. And I swear, if you have that sentence in your mind that grounds you, you immediately will be able to hold on to the reins again. Okay? Okay, so let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, how this played out with Mr. Hathaway and I when we had our first date. Okay? Let me first see if you guys have any questions, and then I'm going to give an example of this. Hi, Nayla. I hope I pronounced that right. Okay, everybody. Hi, Eric. I'm glad you're here. All right. Because, yeah, I felt like I was getting swept off my feet with Brian on the first date, and he did too. So let me give you the short version of this, okay? Let's remember this. Miss Barb here had not dated in 5 years. Wow. So you think I was susceptible to being swept off my feet? Even as a relationship coach, even with all these skills and tools, even with teaching everybody all day long, being on coaching calls all day long, I'm human. I hadn't dated in 5 years. Okay. I hadn't felt, it wasn't like I'd been attracted to people and just didn't want to date. I was living my life, enjoying my life, having fun, and dating was just not something that felt important to me. So when I was ready, I hadn't felt what we were talking about, that spark and connection and chemistry and fun and high and yes! Hadn't felt it in 5 years. Probably longer than that. Okay, So long story short, I think most of you know, my son's gonna get married. We go into Mario's, this beautiful Italian men's store, and Brian walks up and we shake hands and say hi, and we both look at each other and go, oh my God. And we both just had this amazing connection and chemistry. And, you know, quickly I said to him, we can't afford anything in the store, but my son wants to try on a skinny pantsuit, you know, and he was like, awesome, that's great, let's do it. And he found some suits, and we shoved Seth into a dressing room and stayed there as long as we could, having him try on suits while Brian and I just stood there talking and talking. And we were just like googie-eyed over each other. It was crazy. Okay, so won't go into the story right now, but neither of us could remember to give each other our phone numbers. We walk outside the store. My son turns to me and goes like, oh my God, what was that? Because he hasn't seen me attracted to somebody or whatever in years. And he noticed the chemistry. And so I'll tell you guys more later if you don't already know the story, but you know, the universe kind of came sweeping in and got my phone number into his hands. And that next week, he got a hold of me and asked me to go listen to some music on a Sunday. And so I was so excited, and it was so great. And the stage was set, you guys, seriously, for me to be swept off my feet. It was August. It was a beautiful summer night. It was Portland, Oregon, which our summers here are gorgeous. He asked me to listen to music, which we both love. It was on Mississippi, which if you guys are in Portland, then you know that street, which is just this fun, vibrant street with all kinds of stuff going on. And so we went out there. I was staying, here's the other thing, I want you to listen to this. I was staying because I had moved back from New Mexico and didn't have a place to live yet. I was staying in it for a few days in a little cottage, like the sweetest, cutest, most romantic little cottage in Selwood for a few days. And he was picking me up at this cottage. Okay, wow, great place to be able to kind of come back to, right? So he picks me up on this beautiful summer night at this cottage, and I walk out, and he's outside the car, just standing there leaning against the car with his arms crossed, looking more handsome than I ever realized. I've only seen him once in my life. He's so kind. He gives me a hug. We drive out there. And like I said, stage is set, man, for me to be swept off my feet. He's the greatest guy. We're having the greatest conversation. I can tell he's enjoying me. I'm enjoying him. Music is not starting for about an hour. We sit outside at Bar. We have a drink. We're sitting on a picnic table. We're laughing. We're talking. And I'm feeling like, whoa, intense chemistry, connection, spark. And all of a sudden he just like leans forward and kisses me. Light little kiss, nothing weird, not making out with me, doesn't touch me, but it was early, like it was soon. Like we laugh about it now. I go, what the hell was that? He's like, I don't know, I just felt it. Right then, I felt, I think, what you guys are talking to me about, I know all these things I'm supposed to do, but getting swept off your feet feels so good. Right there in the moment, I felt like I could just let go of any kind of common sense, which, what do I mean by that? Might have looked like we could have sat out there making out all night. Might have looked like we, didn't go listen to music, and, I have this great, sweet little cottage and we go back and have sex. Might have looked like we started talking about our future together. I mean, might have looked like all kinds of silly things, okay? But I did have this mantra of mine. I did, even though I hadn't dated in 5 years, I did know that I didn't want to fall into that silliness, that romantic notion of being swept off my feet. And I felt it right then. And he had just kissed me. And so I stopped and I told myself my thing, which was like that, where I was like, okay, I'm going to stay grounded. I'm going to balance my heart and my head. I'm going to enjoy what this feels like right now, and I'm going to enjoy that kiss. But here's what is super important to me right now, that I don't know a lot of things about this guy. I don't know most things about this guy. But one of the things he and I in this hour together haven't talked about is whether he's on any kind of spiritual path. And I grounded by actually saying, this feels really lovely, this feels really exciting, but I have something that I want to ask that's really, really important to me. And I asked him, are you on any kind of spiritual path? That question alone grounded me. And what I loved was that he did not immediately answer like, oh yeah, I totally am, me too. He took a deep breath and he paused, and he actually probably didn't speak for about 30 seconds. But he looked at me and he was thinking. And his answer was very, very thoughtful, very authentic, I could tell it was a very deep truth for him, that he was on a spiritual path, that it was new for him, that it had begun about 6 months prior around really trying to be in the present moment, had started a daily meditation practice and that kind of thing. And it calmed things down, and it started us into an even deeper conversation that was really important. Here's the other thing, you guys, that made a huge difference for me in not being swept off my feet. And I'm going to challenge any of you here or any of you listening to this replay who are having trouble knowing all these teachings that I've taught you and then still falling in to being swept off your feet. I'm going to challenge you here. I'm going to challenge you to do something. Make a decision before you go on a date that you will not sleep with that person that night. You've heard me say over and over, I don't care what you do. You have to decide that. I'm going to tell you this from experience. I'm going to pull the expert card on you now. After 21 years of doing this, my clients that know these skills and tools that I've taught them and still are having trouble being swept off their feet are having sex too early. I'm straight up telling you that's part of this. So I'm going to challenge you two things. Keep alcohol out of it, or have a 1-drink limit. That one has you not think straight. And 2, don't make a decision that night. Make the decision before you go on the date that no matter what kind of chemistry, what kind of attraction, what kind of connection, you come hell or high water, will not sleep with that person that night. If that is one of the components of creating more of an emotional connection too soon, why would you not take that off the table? I want you to be successful. I don't want you to go into a dating relationship that immediately feels like a relationship, that immediately then turns into, uh-oh, wait a minute, this person isn't actually, who I want to be with, or they don't want to be with me, and now it feels like a breakup, and now I'm calling this person my ex, when there's no way that they're your ex. They're not your ex if you dated for a month or two. They're the person you were dating. I'm going to challenge you. Now here's a little bit of personal information. And so I did that too. He's driving me back to this beautiful little cottage, and we have huge chemistry, and it's intense, and nothing could have been easier than to invite him in. And I got out of that car really quickly and just said, that was awesome. We hugged each other goodbye, boom. And I did that on purpose. And here's the thing that I did. For me, but again, I'm really going to challenge you who are having trouble with this to think about it. We did not have a sexual relationship for a month. A month. And we saw each other a lot. I mean, we really had easy, simple, casual little dates every few days. because we were totally into each other and we were loving how it felt and we were loving getting to know each other. But we would kiss, kind of made out some. We didn't do anything else physical. It didn't go more than that, and we did not sleep with each other for a month. And a couple of weeks into it, I addressed it. I brought it up, and I want you guys to do that. Because I want you to know if this person can have a good conversation with you about it. And I just told Brian, I said, you know what? I feel really interested in you, and I feel like this has the possibility of being something really important here. And if it is, I don't want to blow it. And I don't want to do this being swept away thing, either one of us. And then we find out later that we don't actually have the same values. We actually have some deal breakers that are not, being met here. And now it's got to feel really bad for us to end this. I don't want to add sex into it. So I said to him, straight up here, buddy, it's not that I don't feel like I want to make love with you. I just want to tell you straight up, I'm not doing it. So for at least a month, I want to enjoy this feeling, and I want to keep seeing you, and I want to have fun, and I want to feel this high, and I want to kiss you, and I want to enjoy your company, and I want to keep getting to know who you are and what you're about. Because all of you who want this, don't you want to really know if this person has the qualities and the values in which this could turn from casual dating into the possibility of real mature love and a real committed, long-lasting, long-term relationship? Don't you want to know that? And I'm telling you, you don't know that by basing it on chemistry. You don't know that basing it on we're good in bed. We're complex human beings. You've heard me say that over and over and over. We are complex human beings, aren't you? Aren't there all kinds of things that somebody gets to know about you, and that it takes time for a new friend to get to know things about you? Don't you have things that are contradictory in yourself? Aren't there interesting things about you that to this day people still are finding out things about you? We're complex human beings. I want you to only have conversations in the beginning, sorting and screening, with things that are non-negotiable, deal breakers, super important to you. Don't waste time. Only be talking about things that really matter to you when you're dating somebody. But after that, you're just simply also getting to know somebody, their quirks, how they move through the world, what they like, how they deal with frustrations. And that takes time. Time, people. Time. Don't become exclusive too soon. Don't call it a relationship too soon. If this could be something amazing, you will know by letting it unfold slowly and not being swept away, complicating it, and then feeling wounded, and then coming back into this place where you say to yourself, or you say to me, which breaks my heart, what the hell's wrong with me, Barb? What's my problem? Why do I keep doing this? I don't want you to feel that way. It's unnecessary. I hope this has been helpful. I want you, if you're doing this, I want you to watch the replay a couple of times. I want you to come up with that mantra that's going to ground yourself in the moment when you feel that wave, that I'm going to be swept away feeling. If you have a problem with this, I want you to make a commitment to not have sex, at least on that first date, and maybe you try something new. Maybe you do what I do and you say, I'm not going to have sex for a month. If this person's not interested in you unless you have sex with them, is that not a sign of immature love? Is that not a sign that somebody is not able to really show up and be conscious and be awake and focus on getting to know you? Come on. All right. I hope that's been helpful. If you have any questions about this, you can send me private questions, but if you're brave enough, put them here in the comments, because when people come back and listen to these replays and then read the comments, those questions are helpful to them too. So if you're brave enough, put your questions here, all right? You bet, Bryn. You're very welcome. Love and peace and blessings to all of you. Keep sending in your questions. All right. Have a great week.